Hello there, SpeedGaming 3 SGLIVE 2021. Welcome to the Timespinner Randomizer Grand Finals. This is a matchup between wafflesoup and Crimdahl. Crimdahl is our current leader in the tournament. He has 0 losses. Wafflesoup has 1 loss. So if wafflesoup wins this match, we will have one more immediately following to kind of break that tie and determine the champion. But before we get that far, I am joined here in the commentary booth by Lily. How's it going, Lily?
I'm doing great. Looking forward to this match.
Yeah, it should be a really good one. They've already raced each other once. Wafflesoup's only loss this tournament is to Crimdahl, so it'll be really interesting to see if it's as close as their first match was. It was really just kind of one small decision that separated them.
And even then, they were only a couple minutes apart.
Yeah, I think it was just like a little less than 2 minutes, and so it's going to be really close either way. I'm sure of it. As we get ready for our runners to begin, we're looking for really solid execution. Wafflesoup has already run a seed today, so he might be a little bit more warmed up, but he also might be a little bit extra frazzled because of that. So we'll really see how that all kind of plays out as we go. The suspense is killing me.
Yes.
So as usual, our good buddy Bonsai Beer has rolled the seed, as he has in so many of these late tournament seeds. So it'll be exciting to see if his luck of really interesting logic carries through. But as we get ready for our runners to begin, they're kind of starting right in lockstep. We're going to see the early orb that they get to see, how that affects their early strategies. We see Blade Orb. It's another sharp orb start here, where the enemies in the beginning of this game are strong against sharp, but they do get a bombardment, which is like this game's shotgun. One of the better spells in the game.
Not biased or anything.
Not biased, but I mean, it's a good spell in terms of raw damage output. If it's on a big stationary boss, which most of the bosses in here are, especially if you have an economizer ring, you can pump out those shotgun blasts quickly. You can pour on damage really, really, really fast, and you can deal with a lot of bosses that way.
And the larger the boss, the more you do, the more chance you get of hitting all the pellets.
Yeah, you have, I think the max you can get is 8 hits. And, well, there went the Blade Orb. We won't be seeing much of that for the rest of the seed, as they pick up the Empire Orb, which, base statistics is the strongest orb in the game. It's got decent range. It's got good power. The speed isn't bad. We're going to see a lot of punching for the remainder of this seed, even if it is so early already.
Even on foes that are a little strong to Empire Orb, it's usually still worth using.
Yes, it is, because it is that strong. All right, Crimdahl having to try a few times at this first difficult jump. Wafflesoup missing the jump entirely, having to re-kill this as he leaves the screen. Gets it on the second try, though. An interesting thing I noticed, as soon as these runners picked up this Empire Orb, they kind of stopped focusing on killing some of these enemies. Obviously, in this room with the dangling plants, you kill them just because it's faster than deboosting through them. But a lot of the times when you want to kill these early enemies, it's to build up experience and get that first level. When you have an orb as strong as the Empire Orb, that first level doesn't really affect as much as it would otherwise. So they're foregoing their usual leveling up, and I say that as Crimdahl levels up anyway, to get to this first boss as quickly as possible. And you see the power of that bombardment. Crimdahl has already gotten rid of that boss and getting rewarded with the Twin Pyramid Key, which is the method of fast travel in this game. It'll also get you to the past.
Interesting that we get it this early.
Yeah, didn't wait until the library to give it to us this time, and it was at least available to us. And just like that, Waffle Soup deals with the feline sentry just as quickly as Crimdahl did. Now they're going to go through this corridor, which has a bunch of helicopters that like to get in every runner's way, no matter how experienced you are. There's just a lot of hesitation and patience to do in this corridor.
Crimdahl doing some very good misdirection of those choppers so that they get out of his way.
Yeah, he will jump up to get them to kind of follow, which clears the jumping path. Waffle Soup just aiming to kind of jump right in them and use the Empire Orb to smack them out of the air. He is able to one-shot those. More importantly, it looks like our runners are going to get the Celestial Sash right away. And the Celestial Sash is the infinite upwards movement of this game. So in previous seeds, runners have been, curious as to where their vertical movement's going to come from. They're going to get it right away here. So look for a really execution heavy or execution light, routing heavy sort of race here.
Crimdahl is doing some extremely good movement so far as well.
Yeah, that has been the kind of pattern. Crimdahl's movement is almost unparalleled, I would say. All right, I missed where the it looks like we have a Maw Caves portal, and so Crimdahl's probably almost certainly just gonna run right past this boss. Not really interested in facing the third required boss in the past this early in the seed. Always come back later and fight it when it's not going to take nearly as long.
It's generally an easy boss, but early you don't want to really fight it just due to the time constraint.
Yeah, and there is an option here where Waffle Soup could, if you wanted to, go left, and yeah, exactly what I was going to say. We have never mind. He decides not to. I was going to say, Waffle Soup does have the option of turning left. He does have access to all of the checks inside that area. As Crimdahl picks up the water mask, which is an interesting find, given that they have a teleport to the only thing that truly does require the water mask. But as it stands, it looks like Waffle Soup and Crimdahl are kind of going through the same routing. Crimdahl just a little bit faster about it, so Waffle Soup will be following in Crimdahl's footsteps.
Interesting. Crimdahl didn't go on to get the second of the chest to the left.
Right, yeah, there's always an option to get that second chest to the left, which will also put you most of the way towards a portal that you can use for fast travel later. It's just kind of another one of those routing decisions where we'll see, if that's necessary. We saw Waffle Soup go back and tag that teleporter. So yeah, it kind of said to me that he was going to go immediately to the right. Didn't quite grab that first chest to the left, but they get the Shadow Seal here, which is a favorite among randomizer players because it does more damage the less HP you have. And in the randomizer, you have the tendency to be a little bit over-geared for certain areas, and which allows you to really control how much HP you have against a certain boss. So you can go down to really low levels of HP and pour on massive amounts of damage without feeling like you're one hit away from death. And
we'll probably see both runners do that, because they're both extremely proficient at these boss fights.
I agree. It's one of the premier strats, especially when you have a weapon as powerful as the Empire Orb and a spell that's as powerful as Bombardment. Depending on what boss they're fighting, the Economizer Ring may take precedence over the Shadow Seal, but that's why we have this jewelry box, and we start with the jewelry box. You don't have to. But that start with the jewelry box allows them to have 3 loadouts that they can swap freely between. I believe I saw Waffle Soup set one up with the Economizer and one up with the Shadow Seal, but otherwise completely equivalent loadouts.
And there's the required keycard B.
Yeah, the keycard B, it's very required, is literally required to beat the game. As it stands right now, they can't really use it. They have to get the D key card first. That D key card locks all of the checks that are the B key card behind it. Again, Waffle Soup is kind of trailing Crimdahl here just purely based on movement. They're going to need some sort of routing divergence coming up if Waffle Soup is going to, have some sort of time catch up with Crimdahl. We have Crimdahl going into the Castle Keep. He's opting to go to the basement. Basement is an interesting area. It's a loop of several checks, and then when you're done with it, it kind of just drops you off where you started. So you don't really make a lot of horizontal progress across the map, but at the same time, you don't really lose any either. So it's a pretty safe check. It's a good idea to check it in most cases. So I don't see anything really weird here. I expect Waffle Soup to do the exact same thing.
Same. And we have the second best armor.
Yes. Well, the second best armor, depending on your opinions, I guess, on the what you're looking for in armor. Sometimes people would like to do like a princess dress or a lab coat for just a little bit of higher damage output.
It looks like Crimdahl is heading towards the first of them required 3 bosses in the past.
Yes, this is the first of the 3 required bosses in the past, as you said. In vanilla, beating this boss will give you the double jump, which opens up the rest of the seed. Obviously, our runners have something much better than double jump at getting them vertical here in the Celestial Sash. So he'll just go ahead. He has this bombardment spell that the boss is weak to, so it will be a very quick fight. As is moving towards the boss here, we saw him pick up a gear, and that's important. There are a set of required items to finish this game and get the true ending. It is 5 pieces of the Timespinner, 3 of which are gears, 1 of which is a wheel, and 1 of which is a spindle. The B card, the D card, and then some sort of unlimited vertical movement, whether that is the spell, light wall, or the Celestial Sash. You'll see they have the B, the gear, and the Celestial Sash. So that's 3 of the 8 required items to actually go into the true ending, which is what we consider the ending of the randomizer.
And very quick work with the shotgun.
Very, very quick work with the shotgun.
It's a large boss vulnerable to blunt, which is just perfect for landing all 8 pellets from bombardment.
Right, and with the gear that they have so far, you really don't have to risk getting too close with that shotgun and bumping and getting dealt some sort of extreme amount of damage. It's kind of no risk at all. Crimdahl's movement has been incredible so far. I have to call that out. It feels like every time I look up, he's just extending his movement lead against Waffle Soup further.
The V card, which
the V card is another one of those key cards that doesn't really do anything except for if you have another item. In this case, the V card locks 3 checks behind download terminals that you need the tablet to download from. In vanilla, they just kind of give you some lore and some money. In this, the randomizer has been updated to allow those to carry items as well, to add a few more locations to the item pool. And again, we see Waffle Soup just kind of doing everything Crimdahl's already doing. Crimdahl is being thorough. He's not skipping anything for speed purposes. He's making sure he clears out everything here so he doesn't have to retread any ground and revisit anything. And here's where I'm talking about. Crimdahl using that Shadow Seal, kind of headbutting himself up against this boss Ilana a few times, getting his HP a little bit low, pouring 74 damage at a time onto this boss, just making absolutely
it's already
quick
double
work.
damage.
Just really, really quick work of that boss.
Glass pumpkin. Well, it doesn't do anything right now because they don't have the ability to stop time. It may matter later on.
It may matter later on. One thing that the time stop mechanic does give our runners is it allows them a bit of movement. It allows them to kind of get places where they wouldn't be able to without vertical. But more importantly, a lot of the runners will use the time spinner wheel to stop time. And what they'll do is they'll use it so they don't have to deboost through things. They don't have to really dodge enemies. They'll just freeze time and run right past them. So Glass Pumpkin makes it so your sand lasts a lot longer.
Crimdahl left without actually getting the Radiant Orb.
Oh, was that a Radiant Orb?
It's either Radiant or Iron. I can't
Yeah, it's hard to tell
see.
sometimes. The Iron Orb and the Radiant Orb do look very similar. I would be surprised if he passed up the Radiant Orb. But, I mean, I can't even comment that he's fighting them all before it's already dead. The gear and the bombardment really are just cruising these runners through these bosses. Yeah, more 74 damage at a time from Waffle Soup. It's kind of a very similar boss fight, standing right in the ray of Ilana's attack there to take a little bit more damage. So now Crimdahl is going to backtrack through the Maw Caves, which is where their first access to the past was. They really don't have anything to do in the present right now except for backtrack and get like three checks. 3 checks.
3 checks
from the present. So there's a bounty of things to get in the past right now as Crimdahl's gonna be coming up. Ooh, yeah, you might want to get that one, Crimdahl.
That's pink.
That is the first pink item that opens up exactly 1 check, but it has been important in seeds in this tournament. And speaking of the D key card,
there we go.
Technically, Crimdahl could make motion towards the present and do a lot of things there with that D and the B key card. He doesn't have the tablet, which is kind of the one thing you're looking for to make sure you don't abandon any checks here. As Waffle Soup follows in Crimdahl's footsteps yet again, doing exactly what he's doing, just seconds behind.
Nether could be an interesting one that some of our runners might choose to use. At this point, though, I don't think so. And there's the best armor.
I feel like if you want to do blunt damage, you have an economizer ring and a bombardment that's going to outpace Nether Orb 10 times out of 10. For everything else that they have to do for the rest of the seed, I guess I should say. Waffle Soup also almost bolting out of that room before picking up the Royal Ring. Both of them had to leave that check behind in the Royal Towers. Maybe it'll be important. Maybe this seed will come down to, and it would be fitting of this tournament, if this came down to who goes back and checks the pink room first.
And we have had that 1 check matter a few times this race.
It's true. I mean, just someone saying, hey, you know what, it's 1 check. What's the likelihood that it has like something that I really, really need? And it turns out the chances don't matter. It's what it actually does have. And what it actually does have is your progression through the seed. Crimdahl going into the military hangar. This is a late game area that's unlocked once you beat those 3 required bosses in the past. That is that Golden Idol, the Ilana, and the Maw. There are usually 3 lasers that block your progress, but once you destroy those 3 bosses, those lasers are gone. So Waffle Soup, again, we're stopping by the library, which is the rightmost area that they got to in the present. Again, gonna be doing basically everything Crimdahl's already done. There really has not been much reason to take a divergent path. This is very, very linear. The only thing I can really think of that would cause a difference in routing here is if Waffle Soup wants to gamble the tower. As Crimdahl picks up the tablet on his way to the lab, everything's just kind of lining up here, isn't it?
He also picked up double jump on the way.
Yeah, double jump. It's important to know that you have double jump. Celestial Sash does have infinite vertical movement, but it does immediately stop all of your horizontal movement. So running through all your enemies, trying to dodge enemies, especially since this is such a fast seed and they're at such a low level, being able to dodge and your maneuverability is going to be increasingly important. And so that double jump kind of allows you to have a little bit of vertical while also keeping your horizontal movement.
Okay, so there's Radiant. The other one was Iron Ore.
Okay, so it was Iron.
Passing up Frozen Spires. No point for it at this stage.
Yeah, finding the tablet on the way to the lab was just kind of, you know, the nail in this very linear seed coffin. Of course, there's the C key card, which unlocks a couple of things for our runners. Actually, unlocks quite a few things for our runners in the tower area. And really, all of this progression that's happening right in front of our runners doesn't include any strictly required items, which is the interesting thing. We have runners that are going to be ready for the end game and missing the pieces of the time spinner to actually activate it. So maybe that's where we'll get our divergence. It'll be, where do you check first to get these pieces of the time spinner?
I was definitely worried for a minute. Waffle down to 30 health.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And neither of them have saved for most of the seed.
Saving takes time. Sometimes you don't have that kind of time. Crimdahl going into this boss here. It is Genza, kind of a meanie who morphs into a duplicate of your mother and makes you fight. So Crimdahl opting to go with the Wind Orb here. It's in this kind of seed, it's kind of
And the bleak
wild
green.
here to say that that is actually the best option. I believe he actually also equipped the Bleak Ring on here instead of the Shadow Seal. Kind of has a slower ramp up time, but with the Wind Orb, you do have the opportunity to pour on a lot of hits all at once. And yeah, there you go.
I'm surprised he's not just damage tanking it.
Yeah, and using the Shadow Seal, that's kind of a surprise to me too. So here we go. This is our first real chance for divergence. Crimdahl having the tablet, having the V card, having the C card, having a lot to do backwards in the library, opting to go into the Emperor's Tower. So we'll see if wafflesoup has the same idea or if he does something else. And there's a piece of the time spinner in Emperor's Tower, so Crimdahl making the right move here.
Well, there are 4 of them sitting out there, so there's a lot of places it can be.
wafflesoup opting for Colossal Blade instead of Wind, which is doing a whole lot of damage at a time. With that Economizer Ring, you're going to be able to attack with the Colossal Blade several times. Hard to tell what's really faster here. Obviously the ramp up time for the Bleak Ring Wind Orb was a thing, but now that he's out of that aura, he's going to be relying on that Fire Orb with the Shadow Seal, or the Empire Orb with the Shadow Seal, it looks like, for hitting for 75 at a time. And there it is. Not much of a difference, really, in the amount of time it took.
And there's a rare spawn. We haven't seen that one yet.
And wafflesoup maybe thinking there's no way that Crimdahl went to the Emperor's Tower, as Crimdahl goes and gets the Time Spinner wheel out of a tablet download in the library.
Oh my.
Just not a whole lot of divergence going on in this seed, and there's not a lot of opportunity to do so.
And there's our first... No, that's a second fire piece.
Yeah. Looks like wafflesoup is going to be running across the way here to go to the other side of Emperor's Tower. He will eventually find the Time Spinner wheel in the library, but again, unfortunately for him, it will be behind Crimdahl when he does it. Crimdahl going over to check the Lake Serene area. This area has a set of checks that are behind vines that you can burn down, and then when you burn those down, they go missing in the present. And there's also checks that are underwater. Oh, and wafflesoup's still not going to the library. I'm wondering if he's hoping that he's just going to go to the library, be in go mode, and go beat the game. Or he's thinking he knows Crimdahl likes to dip the library and is doing everything but that, feeling like he needs some sort of routing edge to get him over the some sort of perceived execution gap. And honestly, Crimdahl's countering that perfectly by not doing what wafflesoup might be expecting him to do. Crimdahl's just killing it right now, just making no wrong decisions, really just having great movement throughout this entire seed. Crimdahl did dip the library already, though. It's just wafflesoup is going to not like that there is something required there.
They both picked up Light Wall, which is a pretty useful spell for both damage and for movement when you don't have the infinite vertical that they have now.
So Crimdahl opting to go swimming first, and then he's going to check the fire checks. So this is another slight divergence possibility. Maybe if wafflesoup goes and checks fire first, then that will be some sort of change. And that looks like we're finally getting something different between our two runners. Now, the what we're looking for is where is the required stuff. If the required stuff is up top, that's one thing. If the required stuff is down bottom, that's another thing. Wafflesoup backtracking to go swimming now that he's burned those vines. Interesting move, I would expect. Oh, and there's an A key card, which is underwater. Could be required, might not be required. Given that we know the location of 3 of the Timespinner pieces, it's not a 50-50 shot at all. It would be a gamble to dip to A right now without having checked all of the things that are available. Much more dense checks like the fire checks and the present version of the fire checks and the chests that show up in the present when you defeat the Maw. It'll be an interesting call to see what the routing here is. Crimdahl hasn't burned any of the vines yet, so you got to think that he's going to backtrack and do that at some point.
Coming up to this mid-game boss who is going to die very quickly.
Yeah, it's kind of a weaker boss, especially if you're approaching it with endgame gear and endgame levels. Kind of just throw bombardment at it a couple times. As we see Crimdahl, yep, he's going to be backtracking and going and burning those vines that he didn't burn before, which means he will be checking the left side of the fire checks first. Wafflesoup did not grab the Maw teleporter, well, because he doesn't need it. He has already defeated the Maw, so he doesn't need it.
And they have both gone in and gotten the checks in there.
Yep. Okay, so Wafflesoup is going to be fighting the same boss that Crimdahl has just fought here. We'll see if he goes to the present first. I'm assuming he will go to the present first before doing anything. Well, I should say before backtracking. This is going to be really, really tight. Wafflesoup's going to be going to the present just a smidge behind Crimdahl.
And they got the gas mask early. After you defeat them all, this area fills with poison gas. And it doesn't play an effect too much, but every once in a while it matters.
Yeah, at this point, obviously since they have the gas mask, it doesn't. But if they didn't, there would be an oxygen meter that would deplete pretty quickly. And then after that oxygen meter depletes, your HP starts to deplete at a rapid pace, percentage-wise, based off of your max HP. So that is very dangerous. Crimdahl going up top, checking the present fire checks, finding nothing. Wafflesoup grabbing the teleporter down here before he goes up and does the same thing that Crimdahl is doing now. it appears that there is nothing of consequence, nothing at all of consequence in these present fire checks. So Waffle Soup will be doing a bunch of dead checks here as Crimdahl makes his way down to the bottom of Lake Desolation using his vertical movement to get the one check that he was not able to get, and then he will backtrack right into the Zarian caves unless he decides that he wants to do something else. But it looks like he's at least going to grab the portal.
Well, the chance would be if that was elevator keycard. Then they might have diverged. But I think both of them will end up going into Zarian caves because it's probably the densest checks that they have access to right now.
I would agree. That is the play. Without the elevator keycard, you would be abandoning a couple of things in the Varndegray's tower. So this is a place you can go where you won't be abandoning any checks.
Yes, and there goes Waffle doing the same thing.
Yeah, so interestingly enough, Crimdahl and Waffle both found the Sellen's Bangle. Waffle Soup equipped it. So this has kind of two effects here, right? Waffle Soup, first off, the Sellen's Bangle doubles the experience you get. So this has two effects. Waffle Soup will be gaining a lot of levels down here. But on the other hand, there's about a second of delay every time you gain a level. So each time he gains a level, that is 1 second that he's kind of falling behind Crimdahl, and you got to wonder if those seconds are going to be made up by the cumulative extra experience he's gaining with the Sellen's Bangle.
It's possible, but it's going to be tough to know for sure.
Well, we do have a confirmed gear in Zarian's cave, so this is the play.
This is required. It's just a matter of where's that last one. Also, Crimdahl did a save and quit after those checks, bottom left checks of Zarian caves proved fruitless.
Yeah, it's precious seconds that you can save off of your time by saving and quitting there instead of backtracking through the room. It is, I would say, about 4 or 5 seconds faster, and it could mean everything. We had a 20-second victory as our closest margin of victory, and so these things kind of add up. Crimdahl just going in and saying, you know what, I'm going to fight this guy.
Zarian time, okay.
They've got the gear, they've got the levels. I don't blame him for doing this. We'll see if Waffle Soup does as well.
Also pay attention to Crimdahl's very, very effective orb swapping.
Yeah, just making a joke out of that boss. He uses the orb swapping to well, look at that. Just like that. Waffle Soup's going back to the library. Waffle Soup does not fight Zarian. Zarian is not required, so he's gonna find the wheel here. Clear out the rest of the library. It looks like Crimdahl is going to be checking some of these underwater checks that they had not done before. He just didn't go into the V room. Waffle Soup just didn't go into the V keycard room. I don't know.
Interesting.
That is interesting. I don't know if he forgot that he had it.
No, we know that there's nothing in there, but he might start kicking himself when he remembers.
Yeah, especially if he doesn't find anything here. Although Crimdahl's not finding anything at these water checks, so this could be, Waffle Soup going to the tower first could be the play. We have a lot of checks left here, and they're not going to have to leave behind any of them. This is the big check for Crimdahl right here. This needs to be a gear for him. It is not. It is a max sand up, which is not what you want to see. Now Crimdahl is going to the tower. Waffle Soup is now officially, I would say, ahead on checks. I'm going to go ahead and switch to his audio for the first time all stream. we're going to see where this goes. They have no elevator key card, so there are going to be some checks that they have to abandon. There's the third gear, and Waffle Soup is in go mode. I don't want to call it too early, but this is big. And Waffle Soup being the first to be in go mode here. This is kind of a holy mackerel kind of moment. This is a very fast seed. This is a very interesting way for this seed to play out. I mentioned at the top of the stream, this is a 2-and-out tournament, which means Crimdahl, who has not lost, if he loses, he will have another chance to, you know, break the tie and beat Waffle Soup here. Assuming Waffle Soup doesn't have any mistakes here, which at these levels, he had that Sellen's Bangle, which makes pretty much everything he's going to be doing fairly safe from here on out. The big lead here might be insurmountable for Crimdahl. But that would lead to a second matchup immediately following this. So, you know, contact your Sunday D&D group. Tell your family you're not going to make it to dinner. We're going into overtime here.
It may end up coming down to boss RNG.
It may come down to boss RNG and even, you know, boss execution. Crimdahl getting the 2-cycle instead of the 3-cycle. Waffle Soup did have a third attack done by Volturilis there, so that is a little bit of time made up by Crimdahl. Crimdahl being a little more aggressive with the Shadow Seal strats, or not having those levels that gave him more defense and more HP to allow him to take more damage more quickly to get his damage numbers up there. Waffle Soup doing the light wall skip, even though it's completely unnecessary, just kind of swag. He likes doing it. Regardless, it's part of the speed run, so he gets the practice in anytime he can get, even if it's in the middle of, you know, the grand final of a tournament. No big deal.
I'm hoping that that doesn't cost him that extra little...
It's probably a second. I would say it's probably a second that it takes. Beyond just going past with the Celestial Sash. All right, here we go. This is the boss execution that we're talking about. Waffle Soup going with the Jin Inferno strats, doing 284 at a time, getting the infinite aura glitch. There is something with Jin Inferno where if you cast it with the right cadence, it actually does not deplete your aura, which is like your MP in this game. So that's why you kind of keep seeing him cast it even though there's nothing for him to hit. It keeps that chain going, which means it's not actually costing him any aura to cast this spell. He should be going on to the true final boss any moment now, yeah. And as he goes on to the true final boss, we'll have him do some menuing here, throw on Light Wall. I imagine he will Light Wall and then just hop up there, take some damage with the Shadow Seal on, have Empire Orb be doing some serious damage across the board here, right on the snoot of the true final boss here. We're going to see lots and lots of damage here as Crimdahl kind of goes into the same sequence here with the Hourglass. This is a very, very close race. And that's it. Exclamation points in chat for Waffle Soup.
What a close race.
What a very close race. We're going to see the time difference in a second here. It's not going to be a minute. Making the switch to Light Wall. We are going to have a minor difference in approaches to this boss, although Crimdahl not taking any damage here to soup up his Radiant Orb until a little bit later, so it'll be interesting to see what actually ended up being faster. But again, this deficit is going to be less than a minute, and there it is. Exclamation points in chat for Crimdahl as well. We have a very, very tight finish here. Very tight finish. Our official times are, well, there's an interesting tidbit here. Waffle Soup, the race time room was not allowing him to click done. We have an official time for Crimdahl of 37:26. The official time for Waffle Soup is probably somewhere around 36:43. Obviously, Waffle Soup saying that he clicked it a bunch of times and nothing happened, which is weird. We clearly have a winner here, which I don't think there's any question. I would feel very surprised if this is going to come down to a technical difficulty in race time. I don't know how this really pans out here. I don't think it will affect much in what's going on for the actual tournament. I'm kind of waiting on an update on how we're going to handle this. Yeah, we're probably going to go off of the runner's timers. The time actually does end, as per the rules of the tournament, on the last hit on Nightmare, not when you click done on a web page. So I think we will go ahead and say Waffle Soup did win this one, which means we have the run back, the bracket reset, the big rematch, the rubber match between Waffle Soup and Crimdahl. They are 1-1 against each other. I don't think it could be planned any better, Lily. What do you think here?
No. Especially with that 40-second difference.
40 seconds, not a lot of time. This is my favorite thing right here. This is the best thing that could have happened to my Sunday evening. I don't know what that says about me, but I hope this is the best thing that's happened to your Sunday evening too, chat. This is hype. These are the two as of this tournament, the two best Timespinner Randomizer runners facing off against each other for all the marbles coming up here. This is gonna be great.
It looks like Crimdahl was having web page troubles as well.
Yeah, that's kind of been a thing. Chats not sending and things like that. We are going to have to do a little bit of administrative work in the background, jump into a new room for the race, and then we'll ready up again, and we'll be ready to go very shortly.
And there's Waffle Soup. Congrats on your win.
Thank you. I just learned it was a win now.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, congrats. You did win this by the comfortable margin of about 40 seconds.
Oh, that's all. Okay.
Yeah. We are very excited to see the rubber match, the third match in a de facto best of 3 between you and Crimdahl. This is amazing. This is exactly what we were hoping for coming into this grand final. Just a nice epic finish. Both of these races that you've done so far have been very close. The second one closer than the first one. It would be a wild turn of events if it came even closer for the third match. As we're joined here by Crimdahl. Crimdahl, hello.
Hello.
How about more Timespinner?
Yeah, looks like that's happening. GG's, Waffle Soup.
GG's. Hopefully my heart can handle it.
Yeah, the technical difficulties on the race room aside, Crimdahl, Waffle Soup actually joined in here, and he didn't even realize he won until we told him he did. So that's pretty fun.
Yeah, must have been a pretty close race, I bet.
Yeah, 43-ish seconds, 42-ish seconds separating you. Just as it obviously is going to be between runners of this caliber. It's just one tiny decision that made the difference. Waffle Soup dipped the elevator key cardless tower, and there was the gear.
It appears that the only real difference was that Crimdahl did Zarion and Waffle skipped. All the other checks besides the V-card room were pretty much lockstep.
Oh yeah, Waffle Soup. Did you realize you had the V-card?
No, absolutely not. Completely forgot I had it. I said I'll come back here when I get V-card. I remember saying that.
Yep. Well,
Yep.
fortunately for you, V-Card Room had nothing. So there's that.
Just do all the required things. Did
Yeah.
I beat Genza in like 20 minutes or something like that?
Yeah, the lab was done real quickly, and then it was just a search for the time spinner after that. Yeah, I mean, this has been crazy. I can't wait to see how this third match plays out. Waffle Soup, this will be the third race you've done today. How does that make you feel, just, on the inside?
I'm feeling okay. Yeah, we're doing fine. My voice is a little shot.
All right,
Also went
good.
to a wrestling show last night and screamed my lungs out there.
Nice.
That doesn't affect my ability to play Time Spinner. So,
Crimdahl, this will be your second race. Do you feel more warmed up right now? Are either of you scared of the so-called second seed syndrome, where you start, getting phantoms of things that you've gotten or haven't gotten or done or haven't done, and you got to keep that straight in your head?
So far, I'm not too concerned about it. All I know is the second seed cannot start us off with a more powerful set than what we had this run.
Yeah, that was kind of nuts, and we were remarking, Lily and I were, that this seed is there wasn't really a lot of places to diverge. Really, there was only two main divergences in that Waffle Soup went, and when he went to the library, he rolled that into his tower check, and then when you fought Zarion, and then you had some nonsense with Waffle Soup did fire first, and you swam first, and that was basically the only other divergence that happened in the entire seed.
And the fire and water divergence was only a few seconds overall.
Right, there was no real requirement either way, and you both did both of them, so really it didn't matter in the long run. We're gonna set up for race number 2. I think I have to jump into a different room. I think we all have to jump into a different room here.
Yeah, I think so.
but yeah, I will take a very short break and we will see you then.
Yeah, best of luck to both of you.
Good luck, both.
Thank you. Good luck, Waffle.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna stay right here, Lily.
We are.
All right, as our runners get set up. That was a wild seed.
That was a fast one, too. I was really fast to
It
start.
was real fast. You had an early sash. You had early Empire Orb. You started with bombardment. You had gear improvements early, so you were doing just tons and tons of damage to everything that stood in your way.